and welcome back to Mode India, California Arts Association's presentation of performing arts from India. I'm your host, Arvind Kansal. Continuing our series on Indian musical instruments, today we bring you the second part of our series on violin, a string instrument used very widely in Carnatic and Hindustani style of Indian music. In the first part of our program, we talked about violin, its origins, and its association with music in India. Continuing our series, we are going to talk about violin's presentation and performance in a solo concert today. In the studio we have two artists from San Francisco Bay Area who coincidentally, along with me, also happen to work at Cisco. They are on violin, Susheela Narasimhan, and on Mridangam, Ramesh Srinivasan. Susheela has learned violin first from Sri H.K. Venkataraman, a disciple of Sri Lalgudi Jayaraman. Subsequently, from Sri Narasimha Murthy, a student in the musical lineage of Sri Parur M.S. Gopalakrishnan. Ramesh is considered to be a serious student of Sangeet Kalanidhi Vellore G. Ramabhadran. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Susheela, today we're going to talk about, and you're going to give us some idea about how a solo performance is structured. So can you tell us about what are the components, how long it lasts?
Concert typically starts with, warm-up piece. They normally call it as a Varnam in Carnatic music. And I've even heard eminent violinists like M.S. Gopalakrishnan who will announce that I'm playing a Varnam in Raga Kalyani, for example, as a warm-up piece.
I see.
It's kind of done to get to get warmed up and also to get the ambience of the environment so that people get accustomed to the instrument and they get adjusted to the surroundings. And once they do that, it's normally played most of the time. But sometimes people also start the concert with salutation to Lord Ganesh, with a kriti to Lord Ganesh. And this is normally followed by, manodharma or swaras that are put structured to the thala in which a cycle of 8 beats or 3 beats, whatever the composition is created. And they go on elaborating on that. So that's how the concert starts normally. And the person then goes on to play another piece, like a composition in another raga and a thala, for example, like a second composition. So this kind of probably takes around 30 to 40 minutes, and it's called as like a phase one, as I would call.
I see.
Like a phase one of the concert where there's a beginning varnam which might or might not be there. And then you have a salutation to Lord Ganesh, followed by probably another small piece before they go on to they normally call it as the main or the major piece of the concert. So, but every piece that they play could be followed by a swara or manodharma, kalpana swara.
So that is where they would take a line and make some improvisations on it.
Yeah, if you take a line, a lyric from the kriti and elaborate on that, that's called an nerval. And if you you keep on singing the nerval and coming back to the line, the lyric of the thing, so that then basically after you finish the elaboration of the lyric itself, just called the nerval, you go into the elaboration in the swara mode where you sing still structured onto the pentatonic scale, for example, Hamsadvani, Vatapi Ganapati, if you want to consider that. That's a pentatonic scale, Sari Ga Pa Ni Sa. That means you have to still strictly adhere to the scale, and a cycle of 8 beats, Adita, that's composing.
So this forms the main part.
Yeah, like the phase one,
right,
where probably 30 to 45 minutes would have already been gone with a varnam and salutation to Ganapati composition followed by another piece. And then they take up the main piece. The main difference between the main piece and a piece that has been done in the precluding first phase one is the raga elaboration is much more. It's probably 10 to 15 minutes, just the raga elaboration by the main artist. If you consider a typical vocal concert, for example, the raga elaboration by the vocal artist will be around 10 to 15 minutes, followed by another 5 or 10 minutes from the violinist, followed by the actual playing of a composition. And again, the composition will be a little bit more in depth, with the nerval in very good depth, and followed by the Kalpana Swaras that are put.
And this piece is about how long is this piece, the main piece?
The main piece could go up to anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes or even an hour.
I see.
If somebody is doing like a so-called Carnatic concert which is full of, we call it full of weight, so that means that that like somebody has really done a good job in singing we call it as like a heavy piece, meaning it's done at least up to like 45 minutes to an hour. If you just do it for 10-15 minutes, and we do have concerts where people do like 17 or 18 pieces in 3 hours. That's normally not considered as a heavy good concert in hardcore.
So this would be considered an in-depth concert.
In-depth concert, yeah.
And then how does it wind up?
That's your phase 2 of the concert.
Right.
And once you finish the phase 2, it's normally followed up by a phase 3, which is called as, they do a RT, it's the so-called RTP, they call it as RTP, meaning Ragam, which stands for R, T starting for the Tanam, and P standing for the Pallavi.
Okay.
So Ragam is an elaboration of the Raga that you're going to play. Tanam is more, it's again an elaboration of the Raga itself, but it's more set to a rhythmic pattern of the elaboration of the Raga, where it's also probably, I would say that, kind of set to a dance tune kind of stuff.
I see.
And then followed by a Pallavi, where the Pallavi is probably a single line of a lyric that could be composed by one of the Trinities, a line taken from one of the composition of the Trinities, or it could be your own composition.
Okay.
And then you go on to even to do a combination of ragas, which is called as Raga Malika during the Kalpana Swaras in the Pallavi Kalpana Swara part. So that's just the phase 3. So that could last anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, again if it's a standard heavy one. And then followed by, so you already had a 45 minutes of the first phase, an hour of the second phase, that's an hour and 45 minutes, followed by another 45 minutes. You already passed to 2.5 hours. And they followed it by, it's followed by like tukudas, like people call it as, like,
which literally means the pieces.
The small pieces.
Right.
To set the mood of the, like, Tamil compositions or compositions from Purandaradasa and Kannada, or it could be even some English tunes.
I see.
One of which I'll be doing it today. So, and also followed by some good tilanas composed by Lalgudi Jayaraman, for example. And a concert normally ends with a Mangalam, which is composed by Saint Tyagaraja. So, if somebody plays that, you know that that's the end of the concert.
So for today's piece, that you're going to play a kriti and give us an example.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a kriti in Raga Saraswati, which is set to a cycle of 3 beats. It's called Rupakataram. It's a composition of one of the Trinities, Saint Tyagaraja. And I'm going to do a Raga elaboration first, play the kriti, and I'm do some Kalpana Swaras followed by some small piece by Mridangam Ramesh. So that's what I'm doing.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That was great. But now the violin, since it comes from Western sources, it's not native to India. Have there been any influences because of its Western origins in Indian and especially Carnatic music?
Yes, since if you take the period that the trinities were there, like either Tyagaraja or Muthuswami Dikshit.
What time frame would that be?
Like probably 1750 to 1850. I might be wrong, like plus or minus 35 years, but 1800s and 1700s. So if you take that period, we were ruled by the British, as you know, from way back from 1600 to like 1947. So the British music and band, their influence definitely penetrated into Carnatic music. For example, even if you take in Tyagaraja, he has a composition called as Varalila Gana Lola in Raga Shankaravarana, which is kind of, it sounds like an English melody.
Would you play a piece for our audience and show us?
Yeah, I'll play a tune from Muthuswami. Even Muthuswami Dikshit, for example, has composed a piece in Raga Shankaravarana, and it's set to like it's called a cycle of 4 beats, but each beat is based on takita, 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 like a 3 cycle thing. So Rajiva Lochana Ramachandra, which is kind of, and even if the beauty of that song is that Shankaravarana doesn't have the Madhyama, which is called as the second Ma or Pratimadhyama, but that Pratimadhyama is introduced. He introduces that at subtle points in the Kriti, and to kind of get the English tune and the melody. So that's the nice thing about how it has penetrated Carnatic music. So I'll play that tune, which is Rajiva Lochana Ramachandra, and set to Trishranade in Shankaravarana, Muthuswami Dikshit's composition.
This concludes our program on violin as an South Indian music. Thank you for joining us. Mood India's program is a production of California Arts Association. We welcome your feedback and comments and hope to see you again next time. Until then,